Gary, my problem with you is that you lie just to go after that toxic nerd fan base and bring them together and encourage them to be toxic. You're literally bringing out the worst in nerd culture, which should be a very inclusive and welcoming culture, with franchises like Star Trek and X-Men to the nerd name. Very woke franchises, full of inclusiveness and diversity. And you are just drawing out the worst aspects of those fandoms and encouraging them. That is my problem with you, Gary. You encourage the worst in nerd fandom, and I hate it. Nerd fandoms should welcome women, should welcome minorities, should welcome diversity in all its forms. And you don't. Hey guys, I need you to do me a favor. Help me fight the algorithm. Go ahead and hit like, hit that subscribe button, and hit that bell icon for new notifications. Thank you. So, I don't know if you've heard of this fellow named Gary Buechler?
Angry black nerd girl on Twitter.
Yeah?
Yeah, she was there.
That's funny.
Got to see her. She didn't say hi to me. It was weird.
That's strange. I'm sure if I was there, she would have said hi to me. You know, she may not know, but I am officially a member of the club.
Oh, yeah, me too.
So we're balling here. We got the chains. We got N-word passes. You know, it's all good.
Well, we talk about hip-hop one time, you know, and all of a sudden...
And YouTube tried to take us down, didn't they?
We're in the club.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the club. That's right.
YouTube tried to take us down as soon as we showed that we care about the black community. Isn't that convenient?
That's right.
It's almost like there's something going on. There's a conspiracy to make sure that every single person gets gaslit about us. We fucking love black people.
Yeah.
Come on. We're like Trump. Dude, you see Trump walk into a Chick-fil-A? It's like a...
for the black people.
Yeah. Antonio Brown tweeted out about an hour ago, N-words love Trump, Trump loves N-words.
Did he really?
He did not. Yeah, and he just showed the video from that, yeah.
And then did you see the Lizzo tweet he made? Like, Antonio Brown is...
He has CTE.
Yeah, it's great.
Apparently that's what it takes for a black person to vote for Trump. Brain damage.
I don't know if you've heard of him. But he brought me up. If you've seen Dane's stream, if you've seen the Initiative stream, you've seen the clip where he brought me up.
And if you don't like us and you don't want to subscribe, then at least go to the channels that you do like and tell them that we want to talk and we do want to have conversations. Mm-hmm. And that if anything's going to change with the culture war on YouTube, then we should probably talk.
Oh, yeah. And, Gary, if you're watching, and honestly, if anybody wants to talk and has a reasonable conversation request, you can email me here.
Oh, damn.
Let's set something
nice.
up.
I didn't know you could do that. And there goes my
ready.
What the F? What the F? All right. Sorry. I tried. Okay,
right. So... But I guess there's probably people in the chat who are confused, who may not have seen anything and don't know the context of what we're talking about. So
what the fuck are we talking about? So you were presented this clip recently, Bob, and this is and I think it's safe to say you've probably made more content about Gary in particular than any of its other of us
probably.
Have, right?
I will say the advantage to my content is I just do reactions. I'm not going to sit down. I rarely sit down and do anything written. And part of the reason I do that is because, honestly, I don't want to put any more time into these guys. It's like they're going to spit out a million videos a minute. Fastest way I can do anything about it is to just do a reaction. And honestly, it's easy enough to debunk live. So
yeah,
it's not like difficult to debunk.
Yeah, I mean, Gary's putting out.
I do also like your commentary on it.
Yes, Gary's putting out multiple videos like a day, right? And each one of them essentially is chock full of misinformation and like the absolute dumbest way of analyzing media. But it's yeah.
I mean, it's the same stuff over and over again. He just says the same stuff in every video, just rinse and repeat. I mean, I'm sure whoever's writing the bullet points or script for him are just injecting the same stuff. I mean, it's all it's just it's such a lazy form of media, to be honest.
Well, so I mean, I guess Gary, he noticed before. You could tell in that clip you already showed that he already knew who you were, and that was well over a year and a half ago or something, right? Like it was quite some time
that was
ago.
a while ago. Early days, yeah.
So yeah, like Critical Drinker mentioned you, and Mahler was like, but you know, Gary too is like makes his face like, and then he starts saying that, you know, they'll talk big game and blah blah blah. So he knew who you were back then.
Mr. Lucas says, "Hey everyone, I hope you had a good Christmas. Hey Mahler, you should debate some of your haters on EFAP. It would be hilarious. Bring organized chaos on."
I barely have enough time to review this. I'm behind. Like,
If they would
still
come
just have
on, they all talk a big effing game, but when it comes time to like, hey, let's talk, they
well, but like, and a lot of them,
I got it.
And yet this is a pretty recent clip, right? Okay.
Yeah, no, this is a couple days ago. Maybe a week at this point.
For the win. You can call me Games. Been watching for a while and enjoy watching you and others. I just wanted to ask, who the hell is the organized chaos guy, and why is he hate boner for you?
First of all, it's not a hate boner. Okay.
Why do you have a hate boner for him?
No. I mean, I think hate is a really strong term to describe what I think of these guys. I think these guys are kind of jokes, frankly. It's not really hate. I think there can be an entertainment value in watching them, but like you cannot take these guys seriously, and that's the issue I've come across. Lots of people take these guys seriously.
And that's what needs to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
When you have a hate boner, for them.
Yeah,
that's true. Hate boner.
Can't believe you have a hate boner for him.
Oh dear. Yeah, it's you know, I have a clip that, you know, I could play. I'm not going to. Maybe I'll play it at the end of the stream. But like, you know, somebody said the same thing about me and Bob with Eric July on the stream one time, and we kind of responded to that. Like, you know, they said that, you know, you hate him, but he's like successful, blah blah. And I was like, I take issue with several of the claims you're making in that statement. But yeah, hate. No, I don't fucking hate. Honestly, I don't know that I could actually say I hate anyone. But, you know, hate to me is a pretty goddamn strong feeling that I've had before, for sure. But yeah, not in quite some time. Yeah.
I can almost have a degree of sympathy for Gary, because here's what I know. I don't know his full backstory, but a little bit here is essentially like his wife's business was shut down during COVID. So he had to make the YouTube thing work very quickly. I get that. I get that desperation. Be like, oh shit, I need to make money for my family. I get that. Now, how he decided to do that is where I draw a serious question. Essentially, he has decided to really court the toxic fan bases and encourage like the worst in nerd culture, honestly. And just encourage that rather than like maybe use a platform to point out that, hey, maybe we shouldn't be toxic, like he did occasionally before he got desperate.
Okay, because, you know, I really dislike the fake geek thing and the poser nerd thing. That's not what we're about. We're about inclusiveness, and we want new people in. And if new people, you know, spout off and make mistakes, hey, don't we all?
You know, and you might say, no, he said we, and that's because Nerdrotic was originally just a team of guys. Gary was like maybe one, but yeah. I think there might have been more at the start, but yeah, it was two for a while.
I don't know. I know he's got a horrible voice for YouTube. Like, I would use a voice changer or something.
Why? Real quick, I mean, you can kind of tell and there's kind of a performance going on here, and you can kind of tell he's not the best actor. But
no,
I have a really bad voice, but he doesn't know what my points are. So apparently you've watched me, and you know, I'll agree, I don't have a great voice. I don't think you have a particularly great voice either, Gary, but I will say I think your voice is better than mine. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, Gary's got a decent voice for radio. He's also got a really great face for radio.
Yeah.
But I mean,
that is true. I could go really low and mention that, and half the time I cover him, he looks like he's done shit to his beard, like maybe he's rubbed it in some shit or something. But I wouldn't want to go down that lane. I don't want to go.
No, you definitely wouldn't.
We have done this. We have in the earlier on in the initiative. If you go back and watch some of our earlier streams, there was a lot more of the talking about these guys' physical characteristics and shit. And we will still get into that here and there and make a little quip. But like generally, because we've analyzing them long enough, like we can kind of analyze and tear apart their bullshit, worldviews and their claims and stuff way better. And it's also just more effective that way. Like, I mean, and I've actually gotten where I kind of get frustrated whenever people just make the same remarks about like, oh, Jeremy Griggs doesn't have eyebrows or Eric July's got hairy shoulders or whatever. It's like, believe me, I gave Eric July an award for hairy shoulders at one point. Okay. But now I'm just like, okay, yeah, we get it. Can we just fucking analyze their bullshit, please?
Yeah. It also just takes away from the argument. Like what is happening now with Nerdrotic, right? Instead of responding to the things that Bob actually says, he's talking about, oh, he has a bad voice, right? That just like, it shows that you aren't engaging with the argument. And it's irrelevant. Similar to how it's like, I feel like there are ways to criticize someone like Nerdrotic without resorting to talk about the way he looks, because that's irrelevant to the conversation.
So, like Turf was saying, it's that's something that you'll notice whenever we get into some of the follow up of this clip with Bob and Gary and stuff. Right? Is that a lot of basically all of the shit you've got on Twitter is like some kind of like attempt to dismiss you based on some weak ass meme or copy pasta insult or whatever.
Oh yeah,
it's like all superficial and shit. So anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah,
your story.
Let's see what else he has to say.
And I don't know. Maybe.
No, he doesn't know. But here, he's about ready to get into a really solid point. He's about ready to it's a solid point.
He doesn't know what the hate bonner is about, okay? Yeah. Right? He doesn't have any idea. He literally says, I don't have any idea what his problem with him is, right?
Maybe I had sex with his mom back in the 80s.
Classy.
Maybe I'm his dad. I don't fucking know.
Back in the 80s when he was 10 years old.
Yeah,
he was like 12 years old when you were born or something like that.
Yeah, Gary is older than me, but I don't think he's that much older than me. So yeah, hilarious.
That joke landed really well in high school.
Okay, Gary's about ready to get to a point that destroys me.
Okay, something more than having sex with your mom. Okay, let's do it.
Yes.
That's the one where Tyrone is taking care of his kids, according to Eric July.
Oh, wait. So he doesn't know anything about me, but he knows about the Tyrone thing. Because it's noteworthy when people win debates. They like to spend 2 hours yelling about the other guy's family life.
I mean, they're cheering on a cope session. That's what that was. Yeah. They're cheering on a cope session. Yeah, and the other thing is that the fact that they tried to dismiss those comments as being, it's just a joke, bro, but now they're still using it to attack you, goes to show that it wasn't just a joke, and it never was. And that's the whole dismissive behavior in this community. And the fact that it's pretty obvious that Gary and Az and them think way too highly of someone that engages in that kind of shit. I mean, with Eric doing that. So
should we do this is what winning looks like? Should we, in case somebody's missing that context? So yeah, just for anybody that's not aware of what that's referring to, the Tyrone thing, it is a pretty specific thing that you'd have to kind of be somewhat familiar with organized chaos to know this, but yeah.
February 5th, 2023. Eric July debated organized chaos for 3.5 hours.
What do you mean new legacy chaos? Are you talking about knockoff versions? Is that what you're referring to?
While Bob went on with his life, Eric stayed on air to declare himself the winner. This is what winning looks like.
I'm not going to use aggression on you, but all I'm saying is people done got knocked the fuck out for a lot less. Don't let me go to a con and his motherfucking ass is there. You've left your parents or your children with a single mom. You left your children with a single fucking mom. Divorced, fat, and out of shape. Right and white, right? And white, right? Right and white, right?
For reference of like what we were doing at the so about 2 hours after the debate, he was doing this, just going off. By that point, me and Bob and I don't remember if anybody else was there, but like we were like laughing at memes and shit about this stuff.
Yeah,
I was still watching it. I kept watching. I was watching all of this as it was happening live.
Oh yeah, I think you messaged me because you were like, he's still fucking going off about this shit. Like,
and it's no exaggeration. He did this for like the extent of that after part or whatever that he did here. This cope session went on for like another 2 hours. It really was.
I have the whole thing downloaded. I could prove it, right? Like it is 5 hour fucking download. Yeah.
In the chat, here's this. Eric is so immature. This is how I think he says. Eric is so immature and insecure, resorting to fat jokes, making fun of his family situation, and threat of physical violence. You are inch shorter than me. And I got more on you, but I'm built. You know what I'm saying? Like I ain't no fucking like. You see what I mean? You see what I'm saying? Like I'm actually built. I'm built for this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not fucking like. This is a solid 215. You see what I'm saying? Right? Solid.
I want to pause here.
Shit, man.
Why would you say all of this if you weren't threatening physical violence? Why would this be?
Exactly.
Why would you even be talking about this if you weren't trying to fight someone?
I mean,
what difference does it make? You know what I mean?
We did a video on the initiative channel. It's like a couple minutes long, and the thing I put together was like he has kind of a thing about threatening violence and indicating violence at a con for some reason.
If we were at a con, but if I met you at the supermarket, I would greet your hand. I'd be like, if I met you at a con,
you're insecure.
Get me pissed.
Don't let me see him at a con. What was that? That's totally a threat. That's totally a threat.
It is, yeah. Now listen, he's built like a brick, man. Bob, if I was you, I would stay away.
I'm not
stay
stay
away
away
from
from
I have a natural fear of bricks, so.
So he made this stream private, or does he still have? Is it still public? I don't remember.
I don't know if it's
no.
public
He actually shut this down when the lawsuits started happening.
Okay, yeah. Fair enough. But yeah, I mean, at the same time, like YouTube does allow this essentially. Then that's the thing that we'll get into in a little bit is the way that they skirt these things. One of the pushbacks about them being hateful is often like, well, what have they said that's hateful or broken terms of service? It's like, well, I mean, you're kind of right, because the fact is they're constantly staying ahead of what is actually documented terms of service violations. So they're not going to come out and say certain words or whatever, but like they will say phrases or dog whistle to certain things that mean essentially the same thing, or at least puts those words in the viewer's mind, right? And there's not a whole lot you can do about that, at least at this point. So
yeah, it's like in a video, if you're talking about a new cast for something that's coming out, right, and there's black people in the cast, right, and then you mention that, but then like you don't say, I hate this, right? Because that's going against terms of service. But instead, you mention that there's this, right? And then you say, and you all know what that means.
The message.
Yeah. The message. Yeah. You're saying the same thing. You're just not directly saying it. And that's the problem.
And Morgan makes a good point here. Like, honestly, there's no way to know for sure how much this plays into it, but it has to. Like, these channels shouldn't, by all rights, exist anymore. Generally, but YouTube allows them because they're consistent drivers of clicks.
Yeah.
Anyway,
these like just a rough estimate. So I can't remember the video I saw, but somebody was doing like the math. I'm not a math person, but somebody was doing the math, and they were determining that these channels, even on the low end, some of them are making $5,000 to $10,000 a month, and we're talking about like low level channels between 30 and 50,000 subscribers. So
yeah, because you just remember most of them make videos and live stream where supporters in these live streams give a ton of fucking money.
Yep.
But we got a little bit more of Gary here, and
cool.
he just brought Tyrone. And
just what I wanted. Let's do some more Gary.
Oh, we got plenty more Gary. Don't worry. But
can't wait to do more Gary.
He's got a laugh here, and just pay attention to laugh, because I don't know about you guys, it comes off very fucking fake to me, but maybe I'm wrong.
Tyrone is taking care of your kids.
No, we've got a member base on that.
That was a rich person laugh.
YouTube, freedom of speech. You can say what he wants. I've never met the guy. And
why did you look at me?
Maybe
like
we'll
that?
run into each other someday and we can have a chat about it. But
is that another threat? That seemed less threatening because he's not really built like a brick. So
listen, maybe one day I'll see him at a con and then we'll fucking.
So speaking of Gary,
yes.
Gary and Critical Drinker were on Piers Morgan. I don't know if you guys saw that or not.
Oh yeah.
Which time? It's been twice.
It's more recent. The one from last week. There was one last week.
I saw some of it. Yeah, we watched some of it on Friday, and it was yeah. I gotta say, it seems like Gary in particular, but also kind of Drinker, they don't do so well whenever someone pushes back against the things they say.
Mm-hmm.
No,
it kind of. Yeah.
That was the best part. I didn't expect that. I honestly went into that pretty much blind. I didn't know what to expect. And Ernest Owens, who is the author of the book, I want to get the title right, The Case for Cancel Culture, came out last year. And it talks about cancel culture and how political outlets use it as a tool, things like that. So I can't wait to read it. I've got it on download for Amazon. You can do it as an ebook. It's also on what's the Audible, the book, the reading, the app where it reads it to you. It's on there as well. Yeah, Audible. That's it. Anyway, but it was good to see him push back because every time he actually delivered a number or a bit of information, you could see Gary sort of cringe because his whole stick is not being challenged on his opinion.
Creativity.
Ernest, you'd be sitting there grimacing. Yeah. It's clearly demonstrably not working, this strategy. And I've just looking from the outside, look at it and think, yeah, they have been too concerned about identity politics, too concerned about appeasing their very woke workforce. And they should have just stuck to doing what Disney does best, make great family films and make a ton of cash.
So there's a lot of misinformation. And I think the issue is that no one here is actually really reading the real strategy. The problem is several things. There's a missing implication. There has been arguably films that were super successful. Black Panther had a predominantly Black cast, not all Black cast, and made $1.3 billion at the box office and had a really successful sequel. The reality is that when you start saying woke or DEI, there's another implication there where you're implying in many ways that what is the opposite of lack of diversity in those films? It's feeding to an all-white cast or majority white cast and a lack of diversity. I don't think that that's what Disney's trying to do, and I don't think that's what Hollywood should do because it doesn't reflect the society we live in. However, what's missing in this conversation is that the reason why a lot of these films are not doing as well is because many of them are spinoffs, sequels, or there's just overall fatigue in the market where people want original stories. So I do think that rather than try to make this a culture war, which really it isn't, it's more of a change in taste from the audiences and what they want. Let's keep it 100. Pixar has not really made too many original films that have really been able to be fully marketed. And there's been an oversaturation of them. There's an oversaturation of Marvel. But if you look at other films elsewhere, there has seemed to be a trend of liking diversity, TV shows, streaming platforms. And so it seems to be a little bit intellectually dishonest to frame it in this way. I think.
And the minute someone provided any ounce of information, you could just see it in his face. I will say it was weird. How often does Critical Drinker not wear his sunglasses? Because it was kind of weird seeing him without his
what
sunglasses.
color are his eyes?
I don't know.
Well, he's so full of shit. They're brown.
Like seeing, because I've also seen some of like Nerdrotic's reactions during it, and that just makes it more clear why he doesn't want to actually talk to Bob, why he does the whole pretending that he wants to. It's like, oh, I'll talk to him, but he doesn't want to talk to me, even though Bob is very much, I am here. I want to talk. Let's figure this out. It's because he's afraid of someone actually countering his points, actually coming with facts, actually coming with counter arguments. Because he doesn't want to look stupid. Because he will look stupid.
No way.
Unless you're somebody like Eric July or Ethan Van Sciver, who has shown a willingness to, because they'll debate, quote unquote debate, but what they really are doing is just like, they're really good at just steamrolling any point that's made and like deflecting and kind of like obfuscating and just lying in a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm.
If you're willing to do that, it takes a certain kind of person, I think, to be that way, shamelessly. And those guys are that. I don't know that Gary is that. I don't know that Gary would be, maybe maybe he would, but just doesn't strike me as the same kind of guy that's just like going to be ready to fucking obfuscate with 10 tons of bullshit, know, at any given moment.
Because that's the thing. Like, at least the others are talking. You know, like you guys are able to have conversations with them, even if, of course, they're trying to just, which most debates are, right? You're just trying to win, and they have to go to many lengths to do that. But like when you have a conversation with a person, it is more like like some of the barriers definitely are broken down. You know, it is more genuine, and so you still have them in a position where you can talk to them, you can hold them accountable for things, and that's I guess all we're asking.
And I want to stress, Gary, and Gary, if you're not watching, you know, fans, make sure to let him know. Here's my email. You drop me a line. I'm not really interested in even debating you. I just have some very basic questions I'd like to ask you about your channel and the type of stuff you put on it. Some very basic.
So you're very brave. Just showing your email like this.
It's like this.
I get tons of stuff anyway.
Okay,
Gary, if Gary could get, I don't know, Kevin Feige or Kathleen Kennedy or somebody, you know, on his stream, and just sit down with him and answer some questions about his criticisms of the content. You know, that's not a debate. That's just Gary. He's like, look, I have problems with your content. It's too woke and all this, you know, communist China bullshit or whatever. He's, you know, something like that.
Yeah,
I'm sure he'd want to have that conversation, and I think that's more like what it would be from this perspective.
Yeah, because there's no delusion here that Nerdrotic is a way bigger channel.
Yeah.
So Ryan here has the this is actually a pretty decent idea of what's going on. The problem is, thanks to YouTube, you have average people all of a sudden are treated like experts. AirricksReloaded, Nerdrotic, and many others to average to below are not experts. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the problems is opinion editorial style content has become, it challenges actual legitimate news sources, and that's not really what it should be doing. It's a different type of entertainment, because ultimately that's what it is, entertainment.
It's entertainment.
And the news outlets are not going after them the same way they're going after news outlets. Like their legitimacy hangs on making the news outlets look like they're wrong, which is why they always go after, you know, mainstream media and all this other stuff. Because that's what legitimizes their opinions on everything, is that they can look to the magazines and stuff like that. But it's kind of weird that they delegitimize mainstream media, but then appear on what is almost one step outside of that, which is Piers Morgan. I mean, Piers Morgan is about as close as you can get to like a mainstream media show on YouTube that there is. I mean, he's been sort of, I guess, canceled is probably the only term that would work for people to understand. He's been kind of pushed out of a lot of stuff because of his outrageous takes on shit. And he's primarily, as far as I know, I think his show is only, the Piers Morgan Uncensored is only on YouTube, maybe on Rumble or something like that. But he's about as close to a mainstream person as you can get. And we have said before that the two people that are immune to Chud Kryptonite on YouTube are Nerdrotic and Critical Drinker. And here we are seeing them taking that step and crossing outside of YouTube into different forms of commentary. So,
excuse me. Yeah. For anybody that like, does anybody still think that they don't have a political bias, these guys? Like, is that even possible anymore? There was a time when they used to kind of have that coat of armor, so to speak, of just like, oh, they just don't like politics or whatever to love it in media. And that's like, okay, but now they've had Alex Jones on twice. They've had Gavin McInnes, like, you know, they've had Vivek Ramaswamy and shit. And it's like
Vivek Ramaswamy, famous non-political person.
They're not apolitical channels. They never were. I don't know why people believe that. We called this out over a year ago. We said these guys are just political funnels. They're not, they don't really care. And I don't even know how many of them are unwillingly doing it. I mean, because the reality is, I'm sure some of them did get into this because they love superheroes and stuff like that. But then ultimately they're just bending the knee to this political funnel, which is what they've gotten involved in.
Well, I mean, look, they probably got radicalized to a certain extent, like a lot of people. You know, and when you and there's no doubt that these guys have been approached by more, I guess, establishment, I guess you could say, media organizations on the right that, you know, and who knows what kind of things that they've accepted or agreed to or entered into, right? We do know that almost certainly they're working into some degree with InfoWars at least on getting this guy content that's making these quote unquote documentaries with their content, and they're at least looking the other way with him making it. But it seems like it started right after the second time that Alex Jones was on their show on Friday Night Tights, so it seems like it's probably done with an explicit verbal, agreement. And then you got Eric July, who's literally just he's an open contributor of Blaze Media.
Yeah.
And I kind of just
the hallway.
I just suspect that they probably wish they would have kept that more on the down low whenever they first hired him. Because that's probably like the biggest thing that like he's, you could definitely tell in that one moment with Bob's debate with him that he was really uncomfortable with that being brought up. To the point that he kind of lied, because Bob's like, how much does Glenn Beck pay you? And he's like, well, Glenn Beck doesn't own the Blaze. And he's like, okay, that is true technically, but it's also a lie technically, because Glenn Beck owns the parent company that owns the Blaze.
Right.
So it's like, but he doesn't say that. So it's like, okay, that's weird that he would kind of try and deflect in that with that such specific way. Yeah.
I also want to point out we're seeing the other side of that when it comes to the chud apocalypse that is still kind of occurring. Shay Diversity did a 40-minute cope session about why his channel is completely failing. Not Night's Watch, but his main channel, which has like
I didn't realize it was on his main channel.
Yeah, it's like 1.7 million. I think it's, maybe I'm giving him credit. It's like 1 something million subscribers.
It is 7 million.
He doesn't understand why his political stuff is still doing okay, but his regular stuff is going down in numbers. And
40 minutes to say what Greg said here?
I mean, yeah. Well, he apparently had graphs and everything. And look, he did a really good job of breaking down like how his channel functions. Like, he's one of the people that probably looks at like every single like thing that YouTube offers you to make your channel successful. So I do believe that he probably has an idea of how bad his channel is doing at the moment. He's not lying about that. I think that he knows that, but he doesn't seem to understand why, because the numbers to him aren't like, once you take the numbers out of the equation and go, okay, the numbers don't make sense. Why do we have this many subscribers and we're not getting this many views, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. Once it doesn't make any sense, you have to start looking outside of just the numbers and saying, okay, so what other things could be affecting my channel that would bring down my views? And it certainly would be if people subscribe to you because you made weapons and did little fight videos or whatever. And then you started championing AI art to the point where you're trying to shit on other artists, which is a big problem. You started doing super political shit with a bunch of people like that most people don't like. Like, they're going to start dropping off, but the channel that you do political and stuff on would not be affected, because that's the channel that people would have found you on when you were doing that, keeping up with the content you're doing with F&T. So we're seeing that like it is affecting his main channel. And the simple way to correct that for him, because he seems to think it's just a DOA thing with YouTube, he doesn't have any shot, would be to recognize that you've made some mistakes in your branding and fix it. But he's not going to see that. He's going to keep doubling down on it because he finds more strength in that community of chuds than he does with the people that he makes weapon videos with. Yeah. And it's probably easier, to be quite honest. It's probably a lot easier for him to get on one channel and rant and rave about women being the Silver Surfer than it is for him to do a whole video about like making weapons where he has to do tutorials and all that shit. So we're seeing that now. That's what's happening. There's a fallout from it.
Let's be real. On the right wing, these right wingers, they have a real fucking persecution complex. And it's I just imagine that if you're inclined to think that, oh, they're out to get me because I'm telling the truth or whatever, and they don't want you to know that, if you think that the mainstream everything is woke and overrun by whatever political bullshit that you're saying it's run by, and you're the one that's like one of the lone voices out here telling the truth, speaking truth to power, and then your channel starts doing poorly, you're probably going to start blaming it, because I imagine he does blame it on just like that, right?
Well, he's blaming it on YouTube shadow banning him. Like, he thinks they're throttling his content because he's on one of his two channels. So one of his channels, they're not doing anything, but on the other channel, which has nothing to do with any of this like political stuff, that one is the one that's getting throttled. It doesn't make any sense.
It's actually that type of superficial kind of like I guess understanding of the situation that like it makes people more prone to fall for content like Nerdrotic and whatnot. Like if you're actually just not engaging with things on a critical level, and you're just kind of like, oh, that argument makes sense to my, to my ear when I first hear it. Sure, that's then yeah. But
well, actually, I have a short queued up that kind of shows Nerdrotic essentially being political without like really saying political stuff, but at the same time being super political.
Mm-hmm. Bob Iger started a fight with Elon Musk.
You stopped advertising on X.
We did.
Are you going to cut out the bit where Elon Musk posted anti-Semitic stuff and Bob Iger, along with many other corporations, pulled their funding from X? It wasn't Bob Iger was just the biggest name. There was lots of companies that did it. It's because he agreed with an anti-Semitic post, a flat-out anti-Semitic post that Elon Musk was like, "Oh, I agree 100%." And then yeah, it made national news. You gonna cut out that part, Gary?
Tell us about that decision.
Yes, and by him taking the position that he took in quite a public manner.
Nice cut. You're cutting out the when he explained the anti-Semitic post. Jesus.
They take one tiny thing like and they build a narrative out of it. I can't remember who said that. They take one tiny thing and they build a narrative out of it. This is what they do.
Yeah, everybody.
That's every video they ever made.
On Brie Larson right now. She said something.
Although you literally say, I go to what's trending before I make a video. Something I just
created a One Piece discussion right now. I just created one for the past 5 minutes.
Yes.
No, you didn't. I would have liked. Did we just talk about One Piece for 5 minutes? Yes or no?
We didn't. One Piece was used, but we didn't talk about it.
No.
Welcome to every video we make. We use one little thing and then we build the narrative out of it. Don't act like that's not what we do.
I don't build a narrative. I give my opinion.
Fucking.
You are hard. We do. You've made the same fucking video on the same topic at least 7 times a week, Ryan. And you're gonna act like we don't do that.
I talk about I talk about
says one fucking thing and we make a whole video out of it. That's what we do.
Seen this in the comments is that we only talk about people because they're successful and we're jealous of that. You only talk everybody that does commentary on YouTube only talks about other people that are successful because otherwise you'd be talking about your next door neighbor who's smoking cigarettes all day and with the, doesn't come outside. Like
responding
we're all
to the
talking about
3 p.m. lawnmower.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, how come Nerdrotic isn't making videos on Gramercy pictures?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, like
that's the dumbest burn ever. Like you're talking about popular people. Well, no fucking shit. Isn't that what everybody does?
If they weren't popular and relevant, I wouldn't feel the need to address them. I would ignore them.
I'm sure there's lots of channels on YouTube that have videos where they're talking about stuff nobody wants to watch. You just have to dig for them because they probably have 5 views.
Yeah. Okay, look, it's time to fucking look. We got to calm down. It's time to fucking tighten it up. Get it classy. All right, because we have a special guest joining us. Pillar of garbage.
Oh, it's the garbage. You let the garbage.
Fellas, what is happening?
So I'm not sure how much you're aware of prior to the stream, but Bob had exchanged he had a specific message about him spoken by Nerdrotic on a stream or something like that.
That's fun.
Where he seemed to downplay like knowing who Bob even is, but at the same time he did indicate he did know who he was. We also have, a clip of him reacting about something with Organized Chaos over a year ago, so we know that he knows who he is. So, but then he's saying that generally that he doesn't understand why Organized Chaos has a quote unquote hate banner for him. So we're just like gonna kind of go over that and why we have a hate banner, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's good that you got noticed by Senpei. I'm still chasing that high myself.
Yeah, and you know what? It's fun. So do we go to the tweet now, Bob? Is that what we're doing?
We can go to the tweet because the tweet didn't get any attention really.
No, nobody saw this.
Yeah, so Nerdrotic reached 1 million subs, and honestly, I wish I could congratulate him, but we all know how he got those subs. But anyways, so I had a little tweet about it. It's official at YouTube awards bigotry. It's me pointing out what Nerdrotic has done. And
it's a bigotry, and YouTube awarded him.
Yeah, and I know real quick. I know lots of people are like, "Hey, why didn't you at Nerdrotic?" Because this wasn't actually a message to Nerdrotic. I want his fans to see this, and it was a message to YouTube actually. That's why I added them.
No.
Yeah, like Nerdrotic knows he's got 1 million subs.
Okay, look, it's true, but you don't have to rub it in right here where we all can see it. Come on.
Real quick though, the community note on this is bonkers, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it is. It's like, what does that even address?
Yeah, it's
really?
like
completely misses the point.
Yeah.
And it just goes
Crazy.
to show
It's
you,
like, aha, missing
something
information.
good, too.
YouTube actually has terms of service.
Yeah, that's the fucking point.
Two of
They're
the
not being
major
enforced.
tech platforms that are like working in favor of chud content because it's just like not nuanced enough, I guess, to engage with it in any meaningful way.
You know, it's almost as if two things can be true at the same time. It's almost like that's a possibility.
Whoa, slow down there.
Whoa.
So the community note, YouTube has strict requirements that need to be met to be eligible to receive a YouTube play button. A creator has to be in compliance with YouTube terms of service and have no community guideline violation for the last 365 days. In my post, do I say that Gary does any of that?
That's not even disputed in your post. Like, that's not what you're talking about in your post.
Yeah. It's like,
because the problem with the bigotry on YouTube goes beyond YouTube's terms of service.
Yeah.
The problem with bigotry on YouTube is far beyond these stipulations on the award.
Yeah, it's like twofold, isn't it? Like on the one hand, there is some stuff in the TOS that like I think a lot of us would argue Nerdrotic and channels like that are breaking. So point one is it's not really being enforced maybe as well as it should be. And point two is that they're too narrow in the first place. And like both of these points are just completely, there's this community note just blasts right past both of them.
Yep. And there's even people who responded to it
and
being like,
think,
"Oh, you got destroyed by that."
Yeah, you got noted, bro.
Well, I mean, it also shows how Twitter is being abused right now with this community note, because it's like this community note is garbage. It's essentially a whole bunch of chuds being like, "Oh, we got a community note on you," which is an irrelevant community note.
Well, not only that, but I mean, like, how many chud tweets get community noted? I mean, it's almost all of them
hate community
note. So, but all of a sudden they love it now because it was went after Bob. So
that's always the way. They hate cancel culture.
I love that you rated it as not helpful. I think that's funny. It's Bob is like, you rated this note as not helpful because it's absolutely not helpful.
Yeah.
So what are the fans saying? The Nerdrotic fans.
Well, we got. Let's go over some of the people who replied. We got Paul Chatto. Call me Chatto. Gary is a sweet giving guy. I don't agree with every position, but I'm intelligent enough to separate the two. Also, you support BLM, which is a massive scam that's also anti-Semitic. I think you know who the bigot is. Ooh, burn. If you don't remember him, he's kind of a noteworthy YouTuber that Critical Drinkers shouted out probably about a year ago. That's probably where he got a lot of his subs.
It's almost like there's this incentive for them to sort of kiss the hand when stuff like this happens.
Yeah, it's weird.
You're going to see lots of stuff
in particular, right? Like it's bizarre. It really is that they're just like flocked to en masse to defend Nerdrotic from something and the way they're talking, it should just be plain as day that this organized chaos guy is so full of shit. Why would even say that's stupid? You know what I mean? But like they're very, very desperate to defend against it. It's weird.
So Myrmidon, it works by people contributing several notes, and then the people within the actual like community notes community, if that makes any sense. They go through and vote on the note to make sure that it's right. And that's how it eventually goes up, because there's usually like multiple ones in there. So I haven't talked about this before, but I am a community note person. I actually go in and rate notes and things like that. I got accepted into the program a while ago. I don't think there's any problem with saying that. So yeah. So basically I'm one of the people that goes through and rates it, but there's so many, like during the day, they'll tell me, hey, there's 50 notes waiting to be done or whatever. And you have to go through and do that. And it takes a really long time to get through all of them. And the thing is, I never even saw this one. So this one was approved before I ever even had a chance to vote on it. But that's how it works. Like there's a group of people that Twitter selects. You get a little thing that says, hey, would you like to do community notes? You can say yes or no. And then they accept you into the program, or they tell you they don't want you. So that's the way it works. It's not a committee. It's just a bunch of people on Twitter.
Yeah.
And then
it's definitely not paying anybody to do that.
No, there's no money in it. There's nothing.
Quarter black fetish. I don't even or quarter black fetish. Quarter black. I don't even know what the point is. It's like okay.
That was actually great. Quarter black fetish.
Yeah. Dan Bask, who's someone I've never covered, but he's saying considered crying about it. Okay. Yeah, we need more liberal crying.
It's really funny to me that the immediate so this is very telling. The immediate response to you saying something about bigotry is a Trump meme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Isn't that kind of funny? That's you said nothing about Trump. You said nothing inherently political. So
no.
Oh, it looks like we're going to get a cameo from everybody's favorite. Definitely not the guy himself or his wife account. Rippaverse Goalpost.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
Because I see him over there. He's listed on the who to follow.
Yeah. Well, here's somebody we're gonna loop back to this.
Oh, I saw
this
this
guy's
one.
Actually interesting. Matthew Marsden. This guy's actually an actor. He plays a recurring character on a Reacher.
Is he related to James Marsden or?
I don't think so. But I've actually gone into Twitter arguments with this guy before blue check mark essentially meant engagement farming. Now, if you have a blue check, I'm almost going to auto block you or just ignore you because I just assume blue checks are engagement farming at this point. But please explain. I know you guys love saying this kind of thing. I would love to hear an explanation on why Nerdrotic is bigoted.
Why do we have to keep answering that question
as well?
I could do without saying any of those things.
Yeah, do we? I mean, I don't know. We can't say Nazi or fascist.
NPC Bob again. Well, fun fact. I don't think I've ever called Nerdrotic a Nazi or a fascist. So, literally,
but that's what they assume because you said bigot. So they're the ones that group all those words together. They all surprise. Some of those words don't mean the same thing.
Bigotry and being a Nazi and fascist are not the same thing.
Nazis and fascists are bigoted.
A fascist is being a Nazi, or being a Nazi.
Have you called them an istophobe though?
Oh, an istophobe. Ooh,
that's one of their new ones they're doing. Istophobe.
Now, here's one that apparently works with Nerdrotic. Maybe spend less time obsessing over hating on creators and actually create something that is authentic. I don't know. Maybe Nerdrotic could spend less time just pushing bigotry all over the channel.
That could be a response to a Nerdrotic tweet. Hey, Nerdrotic, maybe spend less time obsessing over hating on creators and actually try to create something that is authentic. I mean, that could literally be a response to almost anything he puts out.
Absolutely. Let's see. J.A. Longbone. He's a fairly popular creator. I don't know anything, but yeah, it's a classic response. I am Bob Chaos, sucker of cocks. Classy.
Oh, he's got you there.
Classy.
Destroyed.
I mean, look, more than half the population sucks cocks, so it must not be that big bad thing. You know what I mean? That's his response.
My inclusive team is more diverse than yours.
Bob, you're cutting out, man.
Apparently he knows who my team is.
Can you not hear us, or?
I'm sure he does, because that's probably a comment about the four of us.
There's also a really good tweet though, because him and people like him, they love to yell and screech whenever diverse identities are brought up as relevant in any way, right? But then he's just his trap card for being called a bigot is actually no, identities. It's like pick one. You can't do both.
Right. Because that would mean that he understands what he's doing. He understands the type of content he's making. Because if his response is look at these diverse people as
it's not about the content, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So wait, are you guys saying he's a grifter?
No.
No. How dare you, Bob? How fucking dare
and then Literature Devil felt the need to come back to it because the community note. Classy. Razor Fist. We got Razor Fist. This can't be true. I'd be far more successful if it was. I mean,
that just means that you have no fucking personality. At least Gary can kind of be entertaining when he's doing it.
Razor Fist is really boring. I don't understand why people watch.
And he's also really cringe.
Has this, he does this black and white shit going for this.
So edgelord. It's so fucking.
It's very edgelord. Yeah.
At least he's very honest about being a bigot.
Yeah, true. Like he's like, I would do it.
others.
Like he's like, I'm doing it, and look, I'm not making any money.
Yeah,
So
I'm a bigot, and I'm not doing as well. So
Yeah.
fair.
Whoa, look, it's Mahler.
Oh, no way.
What?
Mahler's here.
Mahler in with this crowd?
The whole
He's
squad's here.
political. What?
There's even more coming.
Hey, what's Mahler doing here?
I make 5 million hours of content. How dare you not be able to pull out a quote of something I've said? Like, give me a break.
Yeah. Oh, who's this guy? I've never
The
heard
big
of this
one.
Critical Dinker? Yeah. The jealousy radiating from this absolute loser is palpable.
So explain to me how that's jealousy. Explain to me
It's
how
not.
that is your extrapolation of this tweet.
Because Bob wants his own play button.
True.
I mean,
well, he's not
it's
wrong,
such a-
but I'd like
such
to
a
get it without bigotry.
weird accusation. Jealousy is such a very low bar of like a response to criticism. Oh, you're
Yeah.
just jealous.
It's funny though,
That's
actually.
probably the lowest thing.
Didn't Critical Drinker also recently make a video about the Oscars where he's like angry about like more successful people than him getting
Yes.
awards and being successful?
Yeah.
Like, is that also just the jealousy from him radiating?
Whenever I make videos on, like, I mean, I've made like almost 300 videos. 3 have been on the Critical Drinker, but whenever I do, I still get comments from some of the old ones. Like, one of the most common things his sort of fans will say to avoid having to introspect is, "Wow, okay, you're just jealous." So it's funny to see that the big man himself, his brain works the same way. It's just like, here's a little shortcut to not having to consider or give a proper rebuttal. You're jealous.
Exactly.
This guy's got bigger number than you. Number is higher.
Well, it took me a second to pull this up, and it's a response to an earlier thing that we looked at. But like, yeah, Bob, why don't you stop just like hating on everything? And
Yeah.
you know,
Good point. I should start like talking about stuff I like more often.
I mean, Critical Drinker is just jealous that you're jealous. So there you go.
So real quick, an audience you can jump into, but like guys, have you noticed anything missing from these guys' responses?
rationality, consistency.
There's that. Yeah. There's
Talking about the argument,
actually debating the
That's it,
point
isn't
that
it?
you made, the argument that you made.
actual debunking.
There is no defense of his content, is there?
like actually
No,
addressing.
not a single fucking one.
because they don't want to do that. They don't want to have
Yeah.
that discussion because the minute they open that door, they would be in for a rude awakening. So they're not going to do that. An argument,
No,
that's a good one.
It's all name calling and ad hominem. Lots of people like to talk about how the tweet was ratioed. When I have like Critical Drinker, Nerdrotic, all these massive channels, like going after it, and it's like, oh, you got ratioed. It's like, yeah,
Very empty ratio.
no,
It's also
shit.
such-
It's almost like it's almost like there's an overwhelming amount of pussy and bio responses, which is a bot problem on Twitter, where they can ratio stuff easily because it's an unregulated like Wild West. I mean, it's
Yeah.
almost like that's the case. I mean,
I find it a weird response to when someone says like, "Oh, you're bigoted, you're racist, you're sexist, all this stuff." To be like, "You're just jealous." Like, no, I'm calling you a bigot. I'm not jealous of that.
If hundreds of hours in EU4 has taught me anything, it's that you know the most important thing about any battle is picking the ground for it. You know, and these guys are just let's have the fight on the who's got the bigger numbers. You know, you're jealous, blah blah blah. You know, you already won it by the time it starts.
The same logic, and I've used this against Drinker fans when they're like, "Oh, he's got 1 million, 2 million." It's like, okay, but Marvel definitely gets more views than the Drinker does. So, you know, when he's talking about Marvel stuff, then the same logic applies, right?
He's jealous.
You know?
but then they'll change the goalpost. Well, he's talking about a corporation and not a person. That's what they would say. But
They say we make a lot of videos on them and we're just jealous about that, but like with that logic, they have made way more videos about Brie Larson than any of us have ever made together about any of them. Like, and she's more famous and successful than they will ever be.
So yeah, this is the point that I wanted to make. That and definitely nobody has ever made this point in a video or anything, or a couple of videos. But like, it's notable that Nerdrotic gets that kind of defense. And I remembered something this morning. I was like, holy shit. You know, if anybody's aware of that debate that me and Bob had with Adam and Sitch like over a year ago, that came about after Adam Friendage showed up to one of our streams one night just showed up and he's like, oh, hey, he was defending the subject of that stream, who was Nerdrotic. And I'm like, wow, it's really kind of notable that these people are so fucking quick to run to his defense, right?
Right.
And then actually Pillar Garbage made an excellent point in what was your what the hell was the name of that one? The Let's Talk About It video.
Yeah.
About how, and I'd never really seen it to that degree before. Like, I know that Pop Counterculture Ed had said, like, when the initiative kind of first started making content together, he was like, I think that Gary is kind of like the head of the snake. And I was like, I had always dismissed Gary. I'll be honest. Like, I'd always just kind of written him off as like, he's not really,
I mean, his
interesting to me.
content is ridiculous. And I kind of like when Ed said that, I was like, maybe, but I don't think it's that big a deal. But like, the more I've seen, the more I'm like, I think Ed nailed it.
And then you lay it out in your video. It's not even really the main subject of the video. It's like the last 12 minutes of the video.
Yeah.
But you do it well. And it's just like, holy shit. Yeah. I think that Gary is just like Griff Daddy.
It's like this. He's not like the formal leader or anything. But like when you start to plot out the lines of connection, he is one of the most sort of connected. He's if you're thinking about like veins in the human body, he would be the heart because it's where it all feeds back to. People say like, when I put out a video like that, or when I put out a video like the one I did not long ago about the web of grifter media or whatever, sometimes people are like, oh, why are you grouping all these people together? But it's like, look at the quotes on Bob's tweet. That's why they do it themselves.
Bass player, I don't want us to like. Well, that's not what the claim we're making. We're not saying that he's like definitely, controlling all of them or anything like that. I think that they generally, you don't have to control them because they're all kind of like parroting the same fucking talking points. Like the point that you made in your video is that Friday Night Tights acts as a sort of like, it's basically they're having a meeting for everyone to see.
Briefing kind of.
Yeah. They're kind of like doing workshopping the routine, so to speak. They're like throwing out the different talking points and the jokes, what they're going to talk about, see what lands, see what sticks, and then from there they just go out and disseminate their bullshit.
But I wanted to go back to the remember when we were going through the quote tweets, and there was the one that was the actor who works in mainstream stuff, so he's noteworthy, and he has one that seems almost reasonable, and I wanted to go ahead and go over some of the responses to this to show how actually not reasonable this is. So he just says, please explain. I know you guys love saying this kind of thing, but I would love to hear an explanation on why Nerdrotic is did. Please refrain from saying Nazi and fascist as well, please. Just an explanation. And then, he gets somebody saying he bullies and harasses actors on his videos all the same. And the guy's
no, he doesn't.
And his response is, no, he doesn't. Next. Then the response is, the guy was right about videos being all the same, though. Check his channel. Every other video is about woke Hollywood. Woke Hollywood is a massive issue that's destroying the movie industry. If they stopped doing that, he wouldn't have anything woke to comment on. He makes money from woke Hollywood. You don't actually think he wants it to end, do you? If he made money on woke Hollywood, he wouldn't have one thing to say about it.
That's immediately. Then there's nothing after that comment. There's nothing left to discuss with this guy. To be honest,
it's just disconnect.
No, this guy's he's just a chud. Like, it might be easy to look at him and be like, oh, well, this guy's a fairly successful actor working in Hollywood. Maybe I should talk stuff over with him. Seeing his responses, no, he's just a chud, guys.
I mean, the thing about it is we can go back and forth about semantics, but at the end of the day, the reason why they're doing this is because they make money on it. That's it. That's literally the driving focus for their channels. So to say they're not making money off of it, like, get the fuck out of here. You can't be serious with that.
Yeah. So here he is being honest, right? Yes, being honest.
Yeah. I mean, no shock to any of us, is it? It is nice to see him saying the quiet part, though, every now and then.
Yeah. Well, I've got another example of that, actually. This is, by the way, these are from, I believe it's from Saltier Than Crate. Gonna be sure to shout them out so that they don't, do bad faith thumbnail posts.
Misrepresent you in their sub. Yeah.
So here's a Carl Benjamin, Sargon of Akkad. An amazing question which nobody has the answer. Why don't Japanese cities have massive crime problems like American cities? Oh, wrong way. Yeah. So then you got this Zuby dude, and then you got that, and then nobody wants to answer it. If I need to explain to you what the implied answer is there, then I don't know. You need to kind of bone up on.
Yeah, but that's the problem, isn't it? Like so many of the viewers and stuff would just be like, "But I don't get it. He's not said anything."
Right.
It's just like
it's a dog whistle. It's a dog whistle.
Yeah.
It's the same with like critical drinkers. The message, you know, it's like, well, he didn't say anything. Well, when you say like, oh, it's a cast full of black people, it's the message.
It's identity politics.
Yeah, like you're like that is very negatively charged. Like that is a statement against something, but it's vague enough so that the fans can do that whole, oh well, he didn't actually say anything.
Yeah,
this was not too long after the let's talk about it thing, so it really came off to me like a try hard attempt at another one of those.
Yeah, it was another one of those. It was Taco Gate 2.0.
Off the
People didn't like this, did they? Even more so than the taco one. Didn't you get? Yeah. So someone posted a few.
There's actually a much worse one
online,
I was going to see about.
Yeah, this one feels worse. The other one at least sort of felt like it was tongue in cheek, whereas this one is more.
He's still trying to push that line, you know. He
is.
Yeah, but it's just it stinks a bit more, doesn't it?
There's nothing more cringe and fucking just than a chud who like gets a little bit of success with a little tactic and then they just keep trying that tactic again and again, right?
Yeah.
It's really cringe. Race grifting, exactly.
Race grifting. That's a new one. I don't think I've heard that before.
And then just to reiterate, like just to kind of like put it all in one image here, so there's no, I don't know. So keep it in mind, folks. Like, come the fuck on. Come the fuck on.
Well, it looks like a guy that would eat someone's leftist ass.
I'll eat your ass. I'll do it.
Listen, he keeps on saying that. It's like, dude, relax.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Yeah. You're not my type. Okay. Yeah.
I'd do it for bragging rights. I'll be honest.
It's like, well, let's have a toast to when my leftist ass was eaten.
Alex Jones.
All right, here we go. 1.02 million subs. And one thing I always think is interesting is, the Chuds really love to cover the American Society of Magical Negroes. Like, nobody else talked about that except for Chuds. I wonder why. Anyways, woke Hollywood is in panic mode. Full-scale depression. That's from 8 days ago. 8 days ago. I wonder if this was during the Bob Iger, Nelson Putt stuff. Because that was dumb. But let's see.
Nerdrotic.com.
Greetings, you over 1 million Awakening Wonders. Thank you very much.
Awakening Wonders was Russell Brand's thing. Is he just copying that?
There are warnings as old as time. Don't talk about politics at the dinner table. Look both ways before you cross the street. Don't run with scissors. Don't drive drunk. Don't date a woke white woman. And our good friends at Hollywood have ignored.
Well, considering considering that these guys consider pretty much any woman woke, for the most part, that means like you can't really date anybody.
Or the equivalent.
I guess any woman for the most part.
Of all of those, don't hire activists. Don't go on strike to hasten an industry contraction.
Yes, don't go on strike. Don't, as labor, do not stand up for your rights. Do not stand up for your rights as workers. Gary, you serious right now with this shit? And, and I remember they were talking about how the industry was suffering. And that was a big talking point during the strikes. And you want to know why? It was because of the fucking strikes. Where I work, they just did have the contract negotiation. During the contract negotiation, all the business talk about was like, oh man, it's been rough. Inflation's hit us really hard. We've been struggling through. We can't really do that much for the raises. After the contract gets finalized, it ended up being a decent deal. After the contract gets finalized and officially put in, the company all of a sudden starts reporting record profits. Because that's what you do during a strike. You talk about how little money you're making, and then when the strike's over, it's like, oh, actually, we're fine. We're fine. Because they don't want to pay their workers. The whole point of the strike is to make them pay up. And yes, they're going to talk about how they don't have money because they want the deal to be shitty.
Don't make the paying customer your enemy. Don't buy billion-dollar intellectual properties with built-in fandoms and then piss off those fandoms immediately by subverting their favorite characters.
Last Jedi is awesome.
Vader, prepare to meet your maker.
But at least for now, it looks like the 8-year Hollywood wocaine bender has finally come to an end. Dad, who recently transitioned from mom, has bailed it out of jail, and it's on its way to a swanky Malibu rehab. And in this analogy, while woke Hollywood is going over the error of its ways, its friends, the gaming industry and Eastern entertainment, are moving in on its girlfriend, the market share. Something that Eastern entertainment in particular was able to take advantage of because the woke addict Hollywood decided not to work for a half a year. And now the result.
Wow, like completely shitting on workers here, Gary. Not based at all. Not based at all.
Results are in. Hollywood contraction hits entertainment executive jobs. Quote, this is a full-scale depression.
Yeah. Why is it hitting the entertainment executive jobs? Because the workers got good contracts. Good for them. The executives can take a cut. The executives can take a fucking cut. They're fine.
Quote.
Oh no. Anyway, last week.
From Deadline.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't care if the executives take a hit.
Line for Hollywood, Q1 was a bust. Will CinemaCon bring Q2 hope? Spoilers, no. But I may be at CinemaCon. Can't wait to meet Movie Bob. Now, often when I go over these navel-gazing Access Media articles, while they make some good points, I have to fill in the blanks, like Hollywood and entertainment is being murdered.
Oh, look, the message. He's going to say the message here in a second, isn't he?
By the message, but there's something different about this one. All due respect to Godzilla, but the first quarter of this year was a bust for Hollywood. There's no getting around it. The news read like an April Fool's joke without a punchline. To be fair, I don't know if April Fool's Day is necessary anymore, especially here in Western civilization. Every day is April Fool's Day, especially in Hollywood and entertainment, and I'll give you an example of that later. Disney gave up its fight with Florida, better to face its battle with investor Nelson Peltz. Paramount's global debt is down to
gave up its fight with Florida? Disney gave up its fight with... Wait, what? Did you cite this article? Disney gave up its fight with Florida. What the fuck? Obviously, this is a Deadline article. Okay, so this is apparently the article Gary's going over. Michael Seapley for Hollywood Q1 was a bust. Will CinemaCon bring... bring some Q2 hope. Full due respect, Godzilla. Disney gave up its fight with Florida to face its battle with investor Nelson Peltz. What do you mean Disney gave up its fight with Florida, though? Disney and Ron DeSantis allies reached settlement over... Oh, okay, they reached a settlement. So we don't actually know the full details. They're under settlement, though. Okay. Good fun. Okay. I see what you're saying. Okay. All right. As far as Gary Nerdrotic lies, that's he's just reading the article. So, okay. I'm used to him just lying, so.
To junk, and Paramount Plus is weirdly removing some of its hotter kids titles from the streaming mix. Just some speculation here, maybe Paramount Plus is starting to distance themselves from certain Nickelodeon shows over a certain documentary.
Yes, that was poorly handled.
AMC is scratching.
Yeah, I mean, is that what's going on? Hold on, let's see what the article says. Removing some of its hotter kids titles from the mix. It's Paramount Plus removes 10 Nickelodeon titles, including Blues, Clues, and News, Rugrats. Okay, so they are removing Nickelodeon stuff. Well, I don't know why Gary is framing it as like maybe they are, because they definitely are. So that's a weird framing, Gary. But, okay.
For cash and peddling stock.
Yeah, no, this hasn't been... like, the beginning was definitely loaded with a whole bunch of bullshit. But, so far he's just kind of reading the article with just a really dumb slant at this point.
Alamo Drafthouse chain is for sale, and that actually sucks because I like the Alamo Drafthouse. At the box office, Q1's big hit was part 2 of a reimagining of a science fiction novel that ran hot when I was in the 8th grade. Well, we must be around the same age. In other words, a long time ago. Through the weekend, Doom Part 2 had about 252 million in domestic ticket sales, which helped drag the overall box office total to around 1.6 billion, with a boost from the strong last-minute performance by Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. Watching that was the cinematic equivalent of a 54-year-old eating a Happy Meal. Brief enjoyment leading to inevitable regret. The total is only down about 6.4% from last year's first quarter, but it's still off 45% from the glory years like 2017 and 2000.
So okay, so it's down a little bit. That's undoubtedly because of the strikes. It's down a little bit from last year. And then it's down a lot from 2017 and 2018. That's because of COVID. Movie theaters haven't recovered. There's been a slow build-up since COVID. Let me dig up the numbers on there real fast so we can go ahead and talk about why the movie theater numbers are so far off. So here we go. Breakdown yearly domestic box office. It seemed like it was doing really well. It got up to about 11 billion. And 2018, it kind of topped out at 11.8 billion. It went down a little bit in 2019 to 11.3, but that's still really good. And then at 2020, it just bottomed out at 2 million. Bad Boys for Life was the big movie. Undoubtedly because it shut down. Bad Boys for Life came out very early in the year. There's not that many 2020 releases, if you remember, because movie theaters shut down and got rescheduled. And then 2022, 21, theaters started reopening. It kind of doubled its box office, so yay. But Spider-Man Far From Home was like a huge percentage of that 4 million. And then 2022, we're up to 7 billion. 2023, we're up to 8 billion. 2024, it is off to a slow start. It doesn't look like it's quite going to match what it did in 2023. Might outperform 2022. That is likely a side effect of the strikes. 2023 was impacted from the strikes as well, just not as drastically. But you can see, essentially, box office is like at 11 billion a year almost consistently, and then it bottoms out when theaters close, and then there's been a build-up back up. There has been a build-up back up, and that's just building up from the strikes, kind of. Lots of things have changed in Hollywood. Lots of things have changed.
2018. And what's really sad is this article doesn't even mention Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, and I have to agree with Jeremy Johns. A better title would have been Ghostbusters Afterthought, which...
Ghostbusters Frozen Empire was fine. I will say I thought Bill Murray didn't need to be there. I thought Dan Aykroyd was amazing in that movie. I thought the new characters from the last movie were solid. I thought Ernie Hudson was great in that movie as well. I kind of don't get the hate. Yeah, there are some fan service stuff that was a bit much. It wasn't too bad. I think Bill Murray was probably the worst fan service thing because he was a bit distracting with how just nonchalant he was, and he was only in like two fucking... But he was only in 2 scenes, so it didn't kill it for me. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. For what it's worth.
Underperformed its first weekend and then fell off a cliff its second. For the record, Doom Part 2 would have placed 4th in 2016, different times, behind Deadpool.
2016 was before the pandemic. We just went over the numbers, Gary.
Star Wars The Last Jedi, the movie that truly started this downward spiral, and the furries' favorite...
Wait, was it Star Wars Last Jedi? Was it Ghostbusters 2016? Was it Captain Marvel? What movie started the wokeness? What was it, Gary? I can't keep up with you guys.
Zootopia in the Q1 standings as tallied by boxofficemojo.com. Thus, have expectations fallen?
Plus, if Last Jedi is this super woke movie, why did it do so well?
The first quarter box office, in fact, roughly matches what it was in the year 2000, and that's without adjusting for inflation. Now the article states...
Yes. pandemic. Let's see if that's accurate. That probably is accurate, but again, so it's the year 2000. Yeah, so the year 2000 performed about the same as 2022, and now 2023 outperformed 2000. 2023 matched around 2005. It's building up. Like I said, it's almost at 9 billion on 2023. So that means it's about 2 billion off from where it should be. Yeah. COVID, Gary. COVID affected this shit.
Its keen observers, of course, saw the current movie slump coming. Sure, if you had at least one functioning eye and an above room temperature IQ, which would exclude most of Hollywood, as the number of planned releases fell in the wake of last year's Hollywood strikes, yet they went on strike anyway. Now, Deadline...
Dude, they didn't go on strike because they wanted to. I cannot stress this enough. It's not like unions just go on strike for shiggles. Union goes on strike as a last resort. That means they just feel like they're just getting fucked. They're not getting a fair deal, and they're desperate. Union does not like going on strike. Unions, for no other reason, that strikes are incredibly expensive to unions. Just to be blunt, it's incredibly expensive. It's rough. Like, they got to make sure all the people who are on strike are making a living. That's the thing to keep in mind. When they go on strike, that essentially means the people who can't make a living just doing stuff outside of acting, they kind of need a living. They need to get their money from the union. So strikes are incredibly expensive to the union. So it's a last ditch. It's when it's like, you're not giving us a fair deal, we're going to go on strike. It's that fucking simple, Gary. And they did it, and they got a good deal, and now executives are getting a pinch because of that fucking strike. You're just like, oh, boo-hoo, executives are getting a pinch. That's only happening because they got a good deal. That's good. Yeah, maybe, Taki. I wasn't going to do as much today because I'm going to stream again this weekend. But yeah, let's see how Gary talks about how COVID shut down movie theaters and hurt Hollywood. Because this is definitely a video about how COVID has injured Hollywood and not wokeness, right? I'm sure.
Asks what can be done about it. That would have been a really good question in 2016, but apparently Hollywood is in need of a reboot. Now, I have been told in the past by some people that the titles of my videos can be a bit hyperbolic at times. For example, Disney is in full panic mode, but this next paragraph really exemplifies their desperation and shows that Hollywood is in full panic mode. Maybe some answers will actually surface next week in Las Vegas when theater owners meet for their annual CinemaCon convention. Granted, Caesar's Palace isn't normally where you...
They're meeting for their annual CinemaCon convention. How are you reading panic mode into that? It's literally said their annual CinemaCon convention. And yeah, no, I guess you could definitely say his thumbnails are hyperbolic. I'd call them fucking weird and fetishy, frankly. Very fetishy. Alright, so here, I'm about ready to share with you the secret to Gary's thumbnails and what's up with them. Cause he's got this weird fetish going on with them. All the muscle women. I don't get it. But it's his thing. Sure. Whatever makes him happy, I guess. Whatever makes him happy. It is weird though. It is very weird.
And strategic vision, but the great industry reboot has to start somewhere. Bit of a shocker coming from Deadline, who, along with all of their other ilk in the access media, had been reporting that everything was fine until recently, but they do talk about the need to diversify, create...
They're not talking about how everything's more or less fine. I mean, they're talking about AMC is scratching for cash and peddling stock. Draft House chain is closing. Part 2 was a big hit. Louis Gossett Jr. is dead. Rest in peace, Louis Gossett Jr. That sucked. Lou Gossett Jr. AMC already had good sense of step and create a hit of their own with Taylor Swift's Air films. More like that won't be a bad idea. Who is this guy? Given that Sony is sitting out, it might be worth listening to Angel Studios' presentation. Who the fuck is this writer? That certainly beats counting on Hollywood corporate types who have bigger problems than movies right now, are looking towards the stars, many of whom would rather talk politics than promote films, are waiting for Despicable Me 4, which might or might not jumpstart things in the middle of quarter 2. Who the fuck is this dude? This is not a serious article. I'm not digging up much on Michael Seepley, other than, well, he's like 74 years old. This article reads really kind of chuddy, though. Really kind of chuddy. Really weird. So that's something worth keeping in mind. It might be a writer that he picked. Anyways, Gary's complaining about diversifying.
Do talk about the need to diversify, create some variety, because quite frankly, in the big budget films we've gotten over the last 4 or 5 years, particularly from Disney, there hasn't been. And then they bring up finding strength in the middle by backing modestly budgeted movies like The Holdovers and Megan or Godzilla -1, although that's not from Hollywood. And then they bring up Angel Studios and
Angel Studios.
Don't put it in a negative light.
What?
Or given that Sony is sitting out CinemaCon, which should tell you how important CinemaCon is to the industry, it might be worth...
Well, Sony is a spotty a company with a very spotty track record. Let's get real.
Listening to the Angel Studios presentation on Wednesday, April 10th, the people who brought you The Sound of Freedom. You know, the movie that the entire mainstream media was coming down on, calling it the Anon of Q. You know, the film that exposes trafficking children. Angel Studios.
No, it's a film about children trafficking. It doesn't expose it. That's been a known thing, Gary. It didn't expose anything. There's all types of shady stuff going on with Angel Studios. All types of it. That whole pay it forward thing where theaters were selling out, but you get a ticket and then you go there and the sold out theater is fucking empty. And lots of times if you look at the seating chart, you'll see a lot of the seats are bought are like around the corners and the edges, the shit that nobody would actually buy. The Sound of Freedom was very fucking sketchy. Very, very fucking sketchy. So going to Angel Studios, like, if Hollywood decides to listen to Angel Studios' model, which part of me is a little bit scared they might take some pointers, we're looking at them just fucking with numbers a lot, which, you know, I'm sure they do a bit, but yeah.
Studios might patch some holes in the schedule or have...
Oh yeah, no, I'm not going to watch Sound of Freedom. I have zero interest.
A useful thought about the alternative audience, which has grown thanks to Hollywood's act.
And if people, like, I'm not going to do a deep dive into Sound of Freedom because I did it last year. There is an initiative stream on it. I think that one had Pillar of Garbage, and that one's probably still up on my channel. My stream on it probably isn't up. I did I cut that into a video about Jim Caviezel, who is super fucking QAnon, by the way. Incredibly QAnon.
Over the last almost decade. But this last paragraph is the kicker. That certainly beats counting on Hollywood's corporate types who have bigger problems than movies right now, or looking towards the stars, many of whom who'd rather talk politics than promote films. Did I just read that? Did Deadline just call out movie stars for being insufferable twats? If you're looking...
I mean, they can get that way. But they're not nearly as insufferable as you, Gary.
For a sign of things possibly changing far too late, that was it. Or
no, Lucifer, that was actually it, and that's why it made me want to look into Michael Seepley and see if he's like a chud. And I don't know, as far as I can tell, he has a respectable reporting history. So I don't know if he's, getting chuddish tendencies, or if he's maybe dipping his toes in chuddery. But yeah, no, there's definitely a chuddish air to this article he's presenting.
Waiting for Despicable Me 4, which might or might not jumpstart things come the middle of Q2. That's how bad things are. Again, that's just the
How bad things are? Despicable Me franchise is pretty popular. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. Well, if we're talking money thing, I'm not... I thought Despicable Me movies, I'm a father. I've seen this shit. They're fine. I actually prefer Megamind to the first Despicable Me, although that one has its issues as well. It's a very similar story. But yeah, the Despicable Me sequels are fine with less returns. Diminishing returns. And then Minions sucked. I think there's a Minions 2, but I didn't see it.
theatrical. We haven't even talked about the streaming bubble, which has burst, but the main thing
Has it burst? I don't know if it's burst. I think it will burst. I don't think it's burst yet.
driving the Hollywood market has been franchises, and not just any franchises, old franchises that they've completely destroyed and their time has come and gone. And we're
What?
Again, that's just theatrical. We haven't even talked about the streaming bubble, which has burst, but the main thing driving the Hollywood market has been franchises, and not just any franchises, old franchises that they've completely destroyed and their time has come and gone. And we're
So the thing driving Hollywood is franchises, and the franchises are destroyed even though they're driving Hollywood. I'm not sure what logic that makes. I mean, this is the type of shit you deal with when you're dealing with Gary. Like, he's essentially saying these franchises are destroyed and they don't make any money. These franchises also drive Hollywood. It's one or the other, bro. It's not both. Now, if he wanted to come out with an argument and say, "Hey, I feel like Hollywood's getting too dependent on franchises. They should experiment with indie stuff," and he kind of did hint at that. Although he actually didn't hint at that. The element of the article, the Deadline article that he was reading over, hinted at that. He didn't hint at shit. He kind of just read the article. But yeah, maybe something will come of CinemaCon's Monday session about finding out the strength of mail by backing modestly budget movies. You could do worse with The Holdovers or Megan. I haven't seen any of these. Holdovers, I think, I'm 99% sure that's by the guy who did Sideways. He's a really fucking good filmmaker. I haven't seen Megan. He also brought up, I guess to Gary's credit, he brought up Godzilla -1, which isn't Hollywood, which he even said isn't Hollywood, but I'm not, now looking into it, I'm not even sure why he brought it up. But it is a good movie. Sure. But yeah, like, if you want to make an argument that Hollywood should, like, look into, like, budgeting more indie movies, I am all behind it. But yeah, he's just reading an article.
We're well into the apathy phase, something Bob Iger is finding out after overseeing the destruction of Star Wars and Marvel. And in the
Yes, Star Wars and Marvel. Movies that are still some of the biggest box office draws. Well, I guess we haven't had a Star Wars movie in a while, but, like, here, can we see a breakdown? So, 2024, well, actually, we haven't had any Marvel movies this year. So, 2024 is not really useful. So, 2023. Spider-Verse is based on Marvel property. Number 4, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Number 8, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and you can argue, hey, it needed to make more money. Okay, sure, but still, it got number 8. So Marvel's in 2 of the top 10 movies of the year. Marvel properties are 3 of the top 10 movies of the year. I'm not sure how that's a dead franchise, Gary.
The What Have You Done For Me Lately Hollywood, Disney Star Wars, which I believe has never been good, but I'll be fair and say it hasn't been good for about 7 or 8 years, and Disney Marvel hasn't been good for 5. And poor old Bobby's even lost his allies in the access media. From The Hollywood Reporter, Bob Iger's Invincible era is over after a major Wall Street firm sides with activist Nelson Peltz, who is fighting the activist Disney company ahead of an April 3rd shareholder.
So I don't know if this is going to take, if he record this before the vote or after the vote. It might even be after the vote and he's just going to ignore it. So Nelson Peltz made a move to take over Bob Iger's seat at the board. He lost. Bob Iger got 94% of the votes. It wasn't even fucking close.
Holders meeting, investors are questioning how the CEO plans to plot out growth and his own succession, probably by buying more shit. And now even the media is wondering if the guy's gonna leave in 2026 like he promised. No matter what happens with the shareholder vote, the weatherman will still have his job, but it will be an indictment on his entire legacy, which will matter to him a lot. And considering what Disney Marvel...
How is it an indictment on his entire legacy? Like, you haven't even properly presented how all this shit is dead yet. That's another thing he does. He just kind of claims something without actually providing any evidence, and then asserts it without any evidence still.
And Disney Star Wars has put out or announced over the last...
You know, somebody who would be concerned about their legacy? Nerdrotic should be concerned about his legacy. Can you imagine if you were raising kids and your job was doing fucking Nerdrotic shit? I hope he, like, I'll be honest, I kind of hope he doesn't have kids. I don't want to get personal on that level, but, like, I would, like, if I did this YouTube thing and I did the Nerdrotic channel, I would be, fucking ashamed of my YouTube channel. Fucking ashamed.
6 months, The Marvels, Echo, our Charmin Obaid-Chinoy Rey movie, and The Acolyte. I would like to point out, it wasn't meant with rage, it was meant with laughter. And
by the chuds. Most people, you know, Star Wars fans in particular, looked at the Acolyte trailer and thought it looked pretty cool. It looked pretty fucking cool. But, and I'm interested to see how the Rey movie turns out. I want to see Rey get a full, complete storyline, a follow-up. I'd love to see Finn come back. They'll probably have to pay... I mean, they probably had to pay Daisy Ridley a fuck ton of money to come back. They probably have to pay John Boyega a fuck ton to come back. But I'd love to see him come back and give Finn a proper arc.
Obaid-Chinoy Rey movie and The Acolyte, I would like to point out, it wasn't meant with rage, it was meant with laughter. And very soon, it won't even be met with that. If you want a good example of two franchises that are well past the anyone giving a fuck phase, look no further than Star Trek and Doctor Who. Both shows have a lot in common. They're either at or approaching being 60 years old. Doctor Who is well past being a decade since it was good, and Star Trek is approaching 2. Both franchises have...
Well, I've already kind of made my opinions clear on this shit. New Star Trek Picard's not great. Outside that, new Star Trek's been really fucking good. Discovery after season 1 is really good. All of Strange New Worlds is awesome. All of Lower Decks is awesome. I still haven't seen Prodigy. When season 2 comes out, I plan to sit down and watch that. But new Trek has been very fucking good. So yeah. And as for Doctor Who, we haven't gotten anything since the holiday specials, which were fun. I enjoyed the holiday specials, the David Tennant holiday specials. And then we also got one special with Ncuti Gatwa. That special itself didn't thrill me, but I thought Ncuti Gatwa did a great job.
Had their continuity that was built over decades by some pretty...
Continuity that was built over decades. Do you mean continuity that was retconned over decades? Because whenever you deal with a big franchise like Star Trek and Doctor Who, They're building, like, they have to fill in gaps, and they have to retcon stuff. It's not all figured out at the beginning, remotely.
Brilliant men and women completely destroyed by hack activist soap opera writers. Both franchises sacrificed.
Hack activist soap opera writers. Great. Like, you're not even bringing any arguments. You're just saying, I don't like them. Okay, cool, you don't like them. That's not an argument. Like, that's opinion. Like, that's the problem. He's presenting an opinion-based argument as a fact-based argument. Number one, bring up soap opera writers. Lots of people start out in soap operas. I'm sure it wasn't the highlight of their day, but, you know, the goal is do a good job, get a better job. Lots of very famous people have ended up getting their start in soap operas. You gotta start somewhere.
Their male characters on the altar of agenda, all to promote insufferable female replacements.
How are male characters remotely sacrificed in any of these franchises at all? I missed that, Gary. Do you have a citation on how these male characters were reportedly destroyed for female characters? Yeah, there are lots of new female characters in Star Trek, and I guess Doctor Who, although we're back to a male doctor, so that doesn't really work. But, like, they're still good characters, and the old characters are all still there, so, like, what's your argument, Gary?
Shows gave us pronouns in space.
She's pretty fast.
They're fast. They, not she. I've never felt like a she or a her, so I would prefer they or them.
You're assuming he...
Okay, so what Gary just showed you was the entirety of how that was dealt with in Star Trek Discovery. That little clip he just showed you was fucking it. And then they just refer to that character, Adira, as they, them, throughout the rest of the series. That's it. He treats it like that's the defining characteristic of the show, when he's literally just cherry-picking one scene, where they just decide to explain, hey, I'm more comfortable with they, them. And Gary, like, how does that affect your life? A character in a fictional TV universe is comfortable going by they, them. Who cares? Star Trek has always been about diversity, has always been about inclusion. Of course Star Trek would have a non-binary character. It's built into the fucking DNA of the goddamn franchise.
He as a pronoun.
True. Yes, sorry, good point. Are you he or she or they?
Get out of my face, clown!
All leading to...
Yeah, and that was pretty much the one gender pronoun scene in Doctor Who as well. He hit them both. Both these franchises with possibly at least hundreds of hours, possibly pushing thousands of hours of footage in these franchises, have about like 5-second scenes talking about gender pronouns. 1 5-second scene per franchise. Let's cherry pick those and present those as if that represents the entirety of the modern run of the franchise. That sounds fair, right?
Diminishing returns, and when it was all said and done, both franchises were completely spent. Then, with both franchises, there was a glimmer of hope. With Star Trek, there was Terry Matalas's Picard Season 3.
Gary really seems to think Picard Season 3 was something special. I will say Picard Season 3 was better than Picard Season 1 and 2. Decent margin. But it was hardly perfect, and I would definitely say it's not as good as either season of Strange New Worlds. It's not as good as Discovery after Season 1. It's not as good as any season of Lower Decks. It's just the best season of Picard.
Which was immediately squandered when Alex Kurtzman decided to not pick up Legacy.
Okay, so Alex Kurtzman, I actually read an interview about this. Alex Kurtzman has come out and said, I want to greenlit Legacy. I want to do Legacy. Right now, we have budget issues. We don't have the budget for Legacy. I don't know if the budget will come out for Legacy. I don't know if it's going to be a thing that will happen. But if a budget does happen for Legacy, I will greenlight it because I do want to make it. That's it.
Doctor Who, it was the return of Russell T. Davies, David Tennant, and Catherine Tate for some specials. But unfortunately, instead of getting TV showrunner Russell T Davies, we got activist Russell T Davies, and it was immediately squandered. And now,
explain how he is a activist now and not a showrunner, because he's still doing show running. You just gonna claim that and then move on? Okay.
now both franchises have series coming.
You are correct, Eric. If Alien came out today, they would call it woke for sure.
Out in the next couple of months, and I doubt you even know or care. Star Trek Discovery, better known as STD, flares up one last time this.
Actually, better known as Disco, but I'm excited to see the new season. I want to see the first couple episodes, but I'm probably not going to dive in. I have to get caught up with Fallout for the podcast. But the only thing about the final season of Discovery that disappoints me is finding out that like they were in the middle of filming the final episode of the season, and that's when the word came down that there was this final episode of the series. So they had to rewrite and reshoot a lot of that episode. Very disappointing. I would like to think that they could give them a whole season to plan this shit out, but apparently they couldn't.
This month, and the once enigmatic and mysterious Doctor Who, hell, it's in the title, returns as the not-so-mysterious Dr. Gay in May.
So, the Doctor, who is famous for wearing very eccentric outfits, all of a sudden, this...
Dr. Gay in...
So, all of a sudden, this outfit is way out there. A tank top and a kilt. That is way out there, and he's dancing on the dance floor. How fucking dare he? Listen, man, like I said, I wasn't a huge fan of the Christmas special, but I did think Ncuti Gatwa did a really good job. He owned the role. Good on him. And even in this dance scene, he's owning the role. If you can't handle that, Gary, that's kind of telling on you.
May. Correction, Disney's Doctor Who, and yes, that's another thing Iger had a hand in f***ing up. On March 27th for...
Well, to my understanding, it's still a BBC production for the most part, but Disney just gives them some money for effects, essentially, and has the licensing rights in the United States, to my understanding.
Variety put up this PR puff piece, probably directly from Paramount, the future of Star Trek from Starfleet Academy to new movies and Michelle Yeoh, how the 58-year-old franchise is planning for the next generation of fans.
Sheer fucking hubris.
How's that sheer fucking hubris? That's how you run a business, Gary. Their goal is to get new fans. So they have a new Starfleet Academy. I don't know if that's a series or a movie. The Michelle Yeoh Section 39 thing is a movie. Or 39. Section 31. And yeah, they're hoping to get new fans. I don't remotely understand why this is sheer fucking hubris. This is just them planning.
8-year-old franchise is planning for the next generation of fans.
Sheer fucking hubris.
Just a few hours later, in the Hollywood Reporter, we get this. Paramount Global debt cut to junk status by S&P Global. And just days before Doctor Who released another cringe trailer and announced their episode titles for the upcoming season, Russell T Davies said this.
I think Doctor Who would have to become a co-production. There's no way the BBC is going to fund that. You've also got to look in the long term at the end of the BBC, which is somehow, surely, undoubtedly on its way in some shape or form.
And after watching the
Okay, just real quick, like, I caught him talking about the end of the BBC, which, I mean, all things come to an end, so, yeah.
Season, Russell T Davies said this.
I think Doctor Who would have to become a co-production. There's no way the BBC is going to fund that. You've also got to look in the long term at the end of the BBC, which is somehow, surely, undoubtedly on its way in some shape or form.
And after watching the abysmal...
So, Gary, what he is actually saying there, if you're paying attention, is that it's not currently a co-production. Disney is not really helping them produce it. Disney is distributing it and giving them some money for effects. That's it. That's what he just said. Now, it might eventually become a co-production, but it's not there yet.
Ghostbusters movie and Roadhouse back-to-back, where the only redeeming thing was Conor McGregor's horrific acting.
Oh, don't be like that. Here, I got a tip for you. Don't let no one get this close.
Hollywood is...
Conor McGregor was kind of hilarious in that movie. Yeah, he kind of was.
And just out of ideas, they're out of recycled ideas. And let's be real, most of these franchises weren't franchises at all. They were one film, some were maybe two, and most, if not all, were of their time. And the ones that were legitimate franchises that could have lasted forever, unfortunately won't. Their best...
Really? Because I'm pretty sure Star Wars is still a thing that's happening right now. Star Wars was a lot deader after Return of the Jedi, and then it was still even deader than it was now after Revenge of the Sith.
Days are far behind them, partially if not mostly due to incompetent hacks writing different variations of the sad old legacy character teamed up with a girl boss who...
Okay, Gary, if they want to bring these characters back with the same actors, they have to address the fact that these actors are old. They have to write storylines assuming the character is old. You can't have Harrison Ford walk on stage looking like this and be like, oh yeah, he's 42. That's not happening, Gary. You have to write the story around that. That being said, yes, Helena was there. She was the sidekick. Kind of like how Marion was the sidekick in the first one. So a woman sidekick for Indy doesn't even seem that far off. But also, she wasn't remotely the main character. She was just the supporting character and kind of a sketchy character at that.
By the end of the film, shows him the error of his ways, teaches him how to live, laugh, and love right before he dies.
Well, I'm surrounded.
He doesn't die in Dial of Destiny. He dies in Force Awakens. You just jumped around two movies and mixing and matching whatever you want. Cool.
Surrounded by idiots. No.
Yeah, I'd create a bankruptcy and corporatism to the mix, and that's a recipe for disaster. But hey, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm blowing things out of proportion. Let's take a look at the remaining release list for 2024, which features 17 variations of prequels, sequels, and reboots. Of course, we know about...
Yeah, no, if you want to talk about franchise filmmaking, it's a big deal. You are correct.
Deadpool 3 and Joker 2, but here's the rest. Furiosa, a Mad Max saga,
which looks fucking awesome. I can't wait for Furiosa. I might actually be more excited for Furiosa than I am for Deadpool 3 or Joker. Well, definitely more excited than Joker. Furiosa, like Mad Max Fury Road, might be my all-time favorite action movie. So Furiosa looks fucking... I'm so on board for Furiosa.
Without Matt...
You are right, Bob the Old Ways. Marion was also kind of a scoundrel, too. Not as much as Helena. I'm pretty sure that was her name. Phoebe Waller-Bridge in Dial of Destiny. Not as much as that, but she definitely was.
And Max, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, the fourth film in the third reboot of that franchise.
I don't believe that's a reboot. I believe that's a sequel to the previous reboot, which was really fucking good.
Bad Boys 4, Inside Out 2.
Yeah, Bad Boys was never a franchise that thrilled me. And Inside Out 2, I don't know, because Inside Out is a great movie. I don't know about Inside Out 2. It doesn't seem like one that would really have a sequel.
2, A Quiet Place Day 1.
A Quiet Place kind of annoys me, because the first Quiet Place I thought was this a really cool, almost brilliant, like, message movie about the importance of speaking and the importance of communication. And then I feel like the second one kind of threw that all the way just to return to the universe and kind of do monster shit. And so, like, A Quiet Place franchise does not thrill me. The first one's still good, though. First one's awesome.
Despicable Me 4.
Yeah, Despicable Me franchise is probably gonna run forever. And then Twisters. I was never a huge fan of the first Twister. And I think it's a shame we're not gonna get Bill Paxton back.
Twisters, which is the sequel to Twister, Alien Romulus, which takes place between Alien and Aliens, making it Alien 1.5. A Beetlejuice
that could be fine.
Sequel, a
that could be cool too. Michael Keaton's always awesome.
Transformers prequel, Venom.
Yeah, okay, so like most of this stuff, like, you don't even have footage for it, which tells me it's probably gonna get delayed. Like, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Venom was never a good franchise. Tom Hardy is kind of funny in it. That's all it's got going for it. It's not funny because it's good. Yeah. And then Transformers, we've had a couple good Transformers movies. I thought Bumblebee was very good, and the one after that, the one with the Beast, Rise of the Beast. Yeah, Rise of the Beast was fun. I'm not connected to that franchise at all.
3. Gladiator 2.
Gladiator 2 is an interesting one to do, especially after so long, but I guess see what happens.
Ooh, The Karate Kid, which
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that Karate Kid movie either.
is a sequel to The Karate Kid, which was a reboot to the original feature.
Yeah, but it's also bringing back Daniel, so it's going to be both Daniel and the character that Jackie Chan played. I don't remember. Mr. Han, I want to say. So it's going to be both of them in the new Karate Kid movie. And it's pretty much being done because Cobra Kai is successful.
Featuring some people from the original, not to be confused with the final season of Cobra Kai. Mufasa, a live-action prequel to the live-action remake of The Lion King.
Yeah, I was not a fan of that either. I don't know about, maybe Mufasa will be fine, but I was not a fan of that live-action Lion King, which is still animated, actually.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding.
Well, dude, listen, as much as I am not a fan of, we can go over a lot of this stuff. Number one, real quick. The thing is, a lot of this stuff made money. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes was a movie that was a very critically loved franchise. And if this continues that trend, it could be really good and make money. And a lot of the reason they do these franchises is because they make money. We have to see if these movies are good, and hope that they are. But yeah, Mufasa, the last one you brought up, Mufasa. The reason they're doing that is because that Lion King movie made a fuck ton of money. A fuck ton. The reason they're doing Despicable Me 4, which doesn't excite me, is because it makes a fuck ton of money. Yeah.
If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah, no, do not like, share, and subscribe, Gary. He sucks. Gary, you want to know my issues with your content. You misrepresent a lot of things. You misrepresent a lot of articles. You misrepresent raw fucking facts. Like, you're just talking about how terrible the box office is. Like, comparing fucking 2024 to 2016. And you like to ignore little things like pandemics. You like to ignore lots of little things. You like to just kind of call all the talent behind these movies activist. And typically, when you're calling them an activist, it usually means either a woman, a person of color, or an ally. And in your way of is just calling them an activist or woke. It's ridiculous, Gary. You are not a serious person, and the fact that people take you seriously is beyond frustrating. Frankly, as far as YouTube commentary, Gary, you're a joke. Like, the most useful information I could get from that video was shit that you just reading this article, and this article has some fishy stuff in it to begin with, but it's way better than your video coverage of it. Like I said, you brought up Godzilla -1 when he's talked about lower budget potential Hollywood movies, and you bring up Godzilla -1, which isn't a Hollywood movie. He brings up movies that are actually Hollywood movies that were lower budget. So yeah, Gary, my problem with you is that you lie just to go after that toxic nerd fan base and bring them together and encourage them to be toxic. You're literally bringing out the worst in nerd culture, which should be a very inclusive and welcoming culture, with franchises like Star Trek and X-Men to the nerd name. very woke franchises, full of inclusiveness and diversity. And you are just drawing out the worst aspects of those fandoms and encouraging them. That is my problem with you, Gary. You encourage the worst in nerd fandom, and I hate it. Nerd fandoms should welcome women, should welcome minorities, should welcome diversity in all its forms. And you don't. You are just an old man in his 50s trying to act like media should be made, all nerd media should be made for men in their 50s. And it's not. It's made for a new generation. And that's part of the issue you were even complaining about in that video, how investors in these studios are going to set up, make franchises to reach a new generation, when that's literally their goal. Of course they want to reach a new generation, bro. That's how they keep new fans coming in. New fans need to keep these franchises going, otherwise that's when they actually do die. They don't die just by having a woman in a leading role or directing, as you try to claim. That's my problem with you, Gary. You just encourage the worst element in nerd fandom. It's ridiculous. Do better.
Books, records, films, these things matter. Call me shallow. It's the fucking truth.